Hi, this is Connie again, and this is part 2 of my video on post-concussion syndrome, or living with post-concussion syndrome. Picking up the story in January of 2016, I returned to the classroom. I live an hour away from my place of work, so I have a daily commute of 2 hours, and I was on all kinds of medication, for my MS and for the concussion, anti-seizure meds. I also have underlying conditions, pre-existing conditions of depression and anxiety, which, well, that will come into factors later. But in the classroom, if you got post-concussion syndrome, you know that sensory input, light, noise, lack of focus. I had a list of my symptoms that I initially experienced, and I think I went through some of those, but some of the more lasting ones were, again, sensitivity to light and noise, difficulty focusing and concentrating. So you can imagine how that would affect me in a classroom environment, plus the fatigue. Anybody who's given a speech or has taught a class knows that it's preparation, but it's also performance. And just doing one lecture or two would make me so tired that I would nearly fall asleep. I mean, I literally did almost fall asleep on the drive home. And this continued the following year. My boss, thought, well, hey, you should be better now. I'm going to give you more classes. And I quickly told him, no, I can't do that. And I know that was frustrating for him because he needed someone. We're perennially short-staffed, but I couldn't do that. And that year, the depression became much worse because, history is my passion, and reading and triathlon had been my passion, and I couldn't do any of those things, at least to the extent that I had once done, and I was very frustrated with all that, and so I was getting more and more depressed. And I think that spring, when I first came to returned to the classroom, in the spring of 2016, and things didn't go quite right, I chalked it all up. Well, it's me, there's something wrong with me. But maybe being out of the classroom for so long, I had forgotten the realities. We are an open admission institution, so we are obliged to take in all students. They're supposed to be college ready, but I'm not going to get into the whole realities of testing and its effect on learning. Plus, this is the iPhone generation, the iPad generation, all of the distractions. And I think part of my frustration was not so much just with the PCS, but also with the quality, or the new realities of students. And as I mentioned before, teaching is as much performance as it is preparation, and it was so much harder to keep the students' attention with the cell phones and everything, lack of curiosity, all those sorts of things. And finally, I just told my boss, I said, look, I am just not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to do lectures, at least the entry-level lectures. And so last year, I taught completely on the internet, and I continue to teach completely on the internet. And so it was very isolating, being away from students, being away from my colleagues. and the depression grew worse. My anxieties grew worse. And finally, this past summer, I started seeing a therapist again. Excuse me. Which has been helpful, but I still have lingering issues. After 3 years, I'm still very sensitive to light, to just sensory input in general. Kat mentioned going into a store and how overwhelming that is. I can attest to that. Social interactions, and that is a big conundrum, because I've mentioned the isolation, and some of my friends, of course, are very insistent. We want to see you. We want to, be with you, and it's vice versa. But they don't understand. Kat, you get it. They just don't understand. Pardon me. What an effort it is to be with people, even people who know, and there we go with relationships, with, my husband and, my mother, who, wanting to do things and being frustrated with me because I just, I keep having to refuse. One of my friends, God love her, she said, you're just so flaky. And I get it. I get how she would feel that way. Because I was constantly, saying, yeah, I want to do that. And then, withdrawing or just saying, no, I can't do that. And and I've, if you want to read about the science, like Kat, if you want to read about the scientific aspects of post-concussion syndrome, there's plenty of stuff online. In fact, that's another thing. There's probably too much stuff, because there's all different levels, and people have different reactions, and so you may see really severe cases and really mild cases. And there's things online on Facebook and so forth for support. But the thing I wanted to get out there, I don't know if, like Kat, this is just a personal plea or if it's an explanation, but I'm just having to constantly, every day, adjust to living with this and accepting that my level right now is probably more or less permanent. Now, I've had friends jokingly say, and even my therapist say, oh, this is just middle age. By the way, I'm currently 55 years old. And yeah, middle age, you do forget a lot of things, and short term, you forget a name. And my long-term memory remains largely unaffected, although in the classroom and lecturing, I would tend to forget a name or a date, which is very, not only frustrating, but I consider it unprofessional. I feel bad for not being able to meet what I consider to be some of my professional obligations, things that I would like to do, things that I want to do, but find myself just having to back off, having to withdraw. And that makes me feel bad about myself, which doesn't help the depression, because I feel like it's my fault. When Kat, thank you, Kat, said, it's like having a broken leg. It's a physical injury. And she said, you wouldn't ask somebody with a broken leg to run a marathon. And so that's the way it is with PCS. People don't understand. It's one of those what they call hidden diseases. On the outside, one looks normal. And so people can't understand, why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? And one just has to count on the support, hopefully, of friends and family. But, least, the younger people, or maybe some people who are receiving. I don't live in a big city, so I don't have access to a lot of those kind of resources, can get treatment and it will get better. That's what people keep saying. It will get better, it will get better, it will get better. Well, it didn't get better for me. But remember, I have MS, so that's a mitigating circumstance. So to all of you out there, or any of you out there who are watching this, understand that for you, you very well may have a chance to get better. But for me, it's just a daily struggle to learn to live with the person I am now. And it's, being a former triathlete, it's extremely difficult not to have that outlet, because exercise is supposed to be good for depression, but having MS, having PCS, it's one of my cats. I can't do that anymore. I can do it in limited form, but I've gained a ton of weight because every medication I take for depression, for seizures, all sorts of things, every one of them, the side effect is weight gain and not being able to exercise, and also doing things that probably definitely make the weight gain worse. That's tough to live with, the whole body image. So I'll do what I can to keep living with that, but this is my explanation to the world out there of one case, my case, specific case of living with PCS. If it's helpful in helping you understand it, that's the best I can hope for. Being a teacher, I'm not really teaching at this point. I'm just relating, venting a bit. So if you're watching this, thank you for watching, and I wish you good fortune and a good life. Bye.